Hi, this is Jack Downs with the second series in my video for JLU 317, Web Design and Production, a tutorial for Dreamweaver. And we're beginning in part 3, although this is the second video, it's part 3, which is on page 15 in the massive paper version of the tutorial that you should have. So please find that place, and we're going to continue from there. I just finished off by showing you where we are, and this is what your page should look like now. Remember, we got to this in Dreamweaver from the File menu, and we said Preview in Browser and chose the browser. Good. Otherwise, here we are with the index page open. We can see the source and the responsive. If you're starting fresh here, remember, do you see your files in the file folder? No, you do not. Oh my, that's because you didn't use site definition. Please close it up and start over again. Save your work, you won't lose any work. Okay, part 3, page 15. How to use the DOM panel, or DOM panel. I think I'll say DOM panel, to add structural elements. It's like a map, excuse me, of the page, of the divs and other containers and so on. There's a little discussion of that on page 15, which you should read. And then there's even a little map of it, kind of like what your page will look like on page 16. Not your page, but what the DOM will look like. Of course, it stands for Document Object Model, which is a really technical way of saying the overall structure of the page. It's just the overall structure of the page. You already have some overall structure of the page. By the way, you can see it down here in this DOM panel right here. Look at this. Now, some of yours may be closed up with these little arrows, but of course you can open them up. The head does have some things in it. We don't really care about that too much. The body has a lot. The div with a wrapper, an H1, and then that, and all these paragraphs in H2, so on and so forth. That's the whole structure of the page, presented as a tree or as like an image on page 16. And here we start the instructions. With the index open in the document window, take a look at the panel as we just did. As it says, by default, it occupies this lower area here. You can slide this up to make you be able to see all of it. You can see all of it right there now. If you're not seeing that window, remember it's probably because you don't have the design workspace set right up here. It's supposed to be design, right? Good. And what else? Some of the items in the panel might be collapsed. You can expand them. It explains on page 17. Excuse my shuffling pages. And remember that, for instance, the H1 was stuck down in here inside the div. You open that up and you'll see it. Items are nested. It talks about child elements or children. It talks about sibling elements. It talks about parent elements. It talks about it like a whole family tree. This is interesting, important information. Good web information you should learn about. Read that on page 17. Now it says, finally on step 4, we're finally getting to something. It says to select the H1 element. Here we go. Yes, good. So by selecting it in the DOM panel, look, it automatically selects it over here. See, everything's all connected here in the program. That makes it nice. If we hold down the Shift key and select the UL that follows it as well, good. I hold down the Shift key and click on the UL. What's happened over here in my panel? Well, I hope you can see it on your screen, but in addition to the H1 being blue, which happened before when I clicked on it, now the UL is blue also, and in fact there is a bluish, light bluish tint to all the LIs that follow. It shows that they are all selected together. So on and so forth. This indicates the next step will affect both the child element as well as the parent. It'll affect the LIs as well as the UL. Yes, good. There's a little screenshot of that on page 18. But what we're going to do is we're going to click the plus button to the left of the UL and select wrap tag, which will be, I think, the only choice, because we have multiple things selected. That's what this little plus button in the DOM panel, we're going to use this a moderate amount to create more elements. So this adds more elements to the DOM and adds them to the page too, of course, to the active page at the moment. And we clicked wrap tag, in other words, wrap around those ones we've already selected. We selected them first, and this is going to wrap around them. And it's going to automatically think we must want a div. That's going to be the default there, right? But We're going to instead replace that with header, the word header. Header doesn't need a hashtag or a dot. It's not a div or it's not an ID or a class. It is its own element. Okay, so we typed in header. As soon as we start typing, code hints might pop up. We could select it from the list and so on. Whereas that's something else that Dreamweaver does, which I find annoying, but there you go. We're going to leave the editable field on the right blank. That's where we would specify the ID or the class. We don't need one because header is an HTML5 element. I'm reading on page 18. Number 8, we're going to press enter or return twice. This is something that's a little odd. There's some things you need to enter return twice for. Here's 1, 2. And there's some things we only do it once for. So I'm sure you get used to that when you become familiar with the program. Anyway, that's the deal. Now we're going to move on to number 9. So what happened though? So what happened is it took the header and it put it around those things. Good. You may think that was a little more work than necessary to get that, but that's what happened. Now we're going to select the UL in the DOM panel. So here we go. Clicked on UL. Good. Okay. Because now we want this thing to happen just to the UL. All right. We're going to again select wrap tag, and this time it's going to be a nav. Click the plus on here. We're going to wrap. Now there's more choices. We could insert before, after, insert as a child, which means it's inside of it, right? Because we only have one thing selected, we have these more choices. When you have multiple things selected, the only choice you have is wrap tag. We are going to wrap still again, though. So we're wrapping the UL, which meins also stuff inside it, with something called nav, NAV. This is not an ID or class. It's actually something named nav. Again, it's going to be 2 enters to make it happen. And now you see inside the header, there's now something called nav, which just goes around the UL. You can look at that in your code view. Good. We did that. We confirmed it. Now we're going to select the first paragraph element immediately after the UL. So there's the UL. Here's the first paragraph immediately after it. I can see it selects it over here. It's the paragraph that base side beat keeps you, so on and so forth. Good. And it is now highlighted over there in the DOM panel. We're going to click on the plus button and select wrap tag again. This time we are going to accept a div, and we're going to give the div a hashtag of hero. Hero is typically the ID that's used for the big image. We won't put an image in yet, but there's going to be an image here. So here we go. Plus wrap tag div yes. Over here is where we put the hashtag hero. HERO. Okay. Remember that word itself, we only use that word because it's tradition. The word doesn't carry any power, and it will be connected to the, or we will have to connect it to the CSS. Okay, this where we are, type hero into the right field. This wraps the paragraph in a div called hero with an ID of hero. Enter twice. Now we only had to enter once that time. I don't know why sometimes we enter twice, sometimes we enter once. But it did it, okay? I can go over here and see I've got a div with an ID of hero around that paragraph. Okay, good. Now we are going to also notice that when we do these things, Dreamweaver is not creating like that div, the hashtag hero in the CSS. It did it when we added it up here, okay, right? But it doesn't do it when we add it over here. We're going to have to create those rules and those selectors in the CSS in a different way. Good. So we did that one. We did the hero. Okay, good. We're going to make some more. Using the same technique, wrap the first H2 element and the next 3 paragraphs in an HTML element by typing main. So the first H2, let's scroll down a little bit, and the next 3 paragraphs. So I'm going to hold down the control button and select all those. I didn't like doing it that way, sorry, I did it wrong. Let's click on the H2. Let's hold down Shift and click on the last paragraph. That makes a little more sense. I like that plus mark to be down here on the last of the elements. It probably would have worked either way, but I think this makes more sense. Click one place and then Shift click to grab a bunch of stuff at once. Could have used a control too, whatever. Okay, so we got our plus thing again, right? This time we're going to wrap it again, but we are going to use something called main, which is not a div. So plus mark, wrap, main, which is another HTML5 element. Hit enter once, enter twice. Good. I guess it's enter for each of those boxes. Maybe that's why it's 2 of them. All right. So we did the main. Next, we're going to wrap the next H2 element in the following 2 paragraphs in an element by typing aside in the left field. Next, H2, and not all the remaining paragraphs, the next 2 paragraphs. So doing a shift click. So I got those H2, P, P, plus mark, wrap tag. And this one's called aside, which is another HTML5 element. It doesn't need a ID or anything. It's just the aside. We haven't used these before, but you should have read about them probably. Enter, enter. Good. Finally, we're going to wrap the final paragraph in an element by typing footer in the left field. So this last paragraph, which I had to add, remember that? I didn't have it automatically. I hope you added it too, because that's the paragraph that goes around the copyright. There it is. If you didn't do that last, if you also didn't get it when you pasted, you should be doing that. There you go. Good. I'm going to hit the plus mark on it, and we're going to again wrap. This one is going to be called footer. Again, 2 enters. Good. And now with the footer is down there. And so now we've created all that structure. The DOM panel should be more fully populated. I'll make it bigger so you can see even more of it, even bigger. So we got the head, the body. It goes all the way down. See all my stuff. Yours should be similar. On and on. And there's a picture of it on page 19. This would be a good place after verifying the structure looks like it, and let's imagine that it doesn't. Something got mixed up. Here's a neat thing. This is definitely interesting. I could take any of these elements and I can drag them someplace else if they got mixed up. Of course, I could just go in here and start typing and delete them and paste them back in, or find them, get the structure correct over here. If I want to try something different, I can grab these. For instance, if I thought the H1 was supposed to go down below, when I start to drag it down, see that green line that's created? It's showing me where I would put it. And if I dropped it, it would go there. I'm not going to drop it. I'm going to leave it where it was. But you can actually drag elements around in the DOM panel and rearrange them. That's a neat thing, huh? Better save. Let's save. I'm going to save all. Sure. Control S would have been fine there too, though. And now we're on the bottom of 19. It talks about, okay, the structure now matches the outline that we showed in that little piece of art at the beginning of the section. But with one addition, there is a div with an ID of hero between the header and the main, which we did put that in there. This will be used to house a large photo, explains to you. Building the HTML5 structure on page 20. It may seem like a long way from creating an attractive page, but it is very important to get a structure right. Also, we like the idea of assigning roles to different parts of the page. That's why it's nice to use those HTML5 elements, header, nav, main, aside, footer, because they carry meaning with them. Instead of just, we could have just done divs and named them hashtag header, hashtag nav, so on and so forth. There's some other names, but they're basically grouping elements, although their names just describe the roles that they have. Now we're on page 20, creating links. Links, of course, hyperlinks are what make the web extremely powerful. It's what so much of this is about. And you've made them by hand. You're going to see there's some ways to make them in Dreamweaver that Dreamweaver thinks makes it easier. So we know what links we're going to have. We know where this navigation is going to be links, right? Good. So if I click into the home, the first one, I can't link like that. What if I double click in there and select the text? I get these new things. We got this little guys. What are these called? In edit mode, 3 small icons appear at the top left. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, except one bolds, one italicizes. We're not going to use those. And one creates links. That's the one we want to use. Okay, good. I'm going to click on the link one. And now I get this box here. I could just type in it, but that would be dangerous. Instead, I'm going to click on the browse. And guess what? That's the home one. It's supposed to go to index. I can just click on select and then say OK, or double click and say OK. And what has happened? I don't have to enter or anything. It's just happened. I click off and that's now a link. Home is a link. Do the same thing for sites. Okay, double click in it, select the entire word, click on link, click on the Browse button, and click on Sites, and say OK. Boom. It's done. It created a link. Good. How about dining, events, and lodging? Well, we don't have pages to link to them because they're just pretend for now. So we're going to do dummy links. I'm going to select it. I'm going to click on link. And I'm just going to put a hashtag in this field. A hashtag. And click down. Same thing for the next one. Whoops, come on. I'm having trouble selecting. Link, hashtag. Good. Next one. Link, hashtag. Good. Okay, so my navigation is linked, although some of the links are dummies. Good. That does that. And now we're going to, you'll want to open up that Word document again if you didn't already. I still have mine open. So because we're going to get some links from there. This is where we're going to get some absolute links. And the thing about absolute links, which are links to things out on the internet, is of course we really want to get the link right. So normally what you do is you open up your browser, you navigate to the page you want to link to, and you select it up in there in the URL field. You copy that text and paste it in down here. But instead, we're going to imagine that that's what these links are in the Word document. See the Word document? In fact, let's grab the first one. It's called Fisherman's Wharf. I'm going to copy all that text there, the text of the link. And remember, it does have to include the whole thing, HTTP, so on and so forth. But you will get that from the browser if you select select everything up in the URL field. Even if you don't see it, you'll get that in the browser. Okay, I'm still on page 20. We did the index, we did the sites. So double-click the first paragraph after riding the cable cars, and we'll do that here again in the live view portion of the split view. We're going to double-click this paragraph. Okay, good. We're looking for the text Fisherman's Wharf. There it is, right there. So I'm going to select that text, Fisherman's Wharf. Good. Okay. Now, that's what we're going to make this absolute link now, right? We're going to add the following value. We could paste it in there. There's actually a bunch of other links. Instead of using this edit field, well, let's do the first one in the edit field. Again, absolute links can be done this way also. So we're going to click on this here, and we're going to paste it in there. It's kind of a tiny window, and then click off. And guess what? The link has been created. Good. Now we have, let's go get the next one. Let's get the Muni Passport. I'm going to copy that from the Word document. Okay, good. And click back into the live view. And the text on page 21 explains that there are a number of ways to add links to text. Instead of using the edit mode, you can simply select text without being in the edit mode and paste the links into the link slot there in the properties menu at the bottom of the screen. Let's do that for these next two. And they are, what was the one I just did? Muni Passport, was that it? Yeah, Muni Passport. Okay, this is down here in the next paragraph. Yeah, under the cable car tips. Let's double click in that paragraph. Muni Passport, I'm going to select that text. And I'm going to, instead of using this button here, which I could, just to do something different. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it in the edit mode, that's right. I'm going to do it right here. I'm not doing it with the gold area. Do it right here without double clicking into the paragraph, just by selecting, or selecting over here would be fine too. And down in the link box here, I can paste it in there. Then I hit enter or tab and it would take effect. So it's a different way to do it. And I remember I wasn't in the gold area, I was in the blue one when I did the selection that time. And we'll do the last one, which is the BART subway system. I'm going to copy that. You'll see that in that same paragraph a little further along. BART subway system. And again, I'll use this one down here. Paste it in there, hit tab or enter, takes effect. So I made a bunch of links. Very good. I'm going to save my work there. You know what? That is the end of part 3 on page 21. I'm going to stop this video here, and we'll make another one for part 4.